three strange little bugs appear on my Venus flytraps, and the flytrap waits for one false move. This video started here amongst my Venus flytraps in my carnivorous plant room, the den. These bugs wait innocently, cleaning themselves, wandering all over my den around my seed-grown flytraps. But they've also wandered onto one of my larger plants with many waiting traps. Strange little bugs usually live outside in the fields outside my carnivorous plant room. However, they make their way in, land on plants like my sundews and my flytraps. And in this case, on another video on my channel, it was a sticky end. But for the meantime, these bugs are happy, cleaning themselves and wandering around my plants. Traps waiting everywhere. And it's not long before one ends up on an open trap. But this one is too slow to react. It's a strange plant, it starts slow and then the trap snaps shut if it's triggered well. These strange creatures usually feed on pollen, nectar, other plants and occasionally small insects. And they can pierce soft plants with that long beak of theirs. I'm not sure what brings them into my carnivorous plant room, the den, but it could well be the lure of young traps, potentially somewhere for them to feed. But they seem to be popping up everywhere. Elsewhere in the den, they seem to wander across my seed-grown sundews, touching one of the dewdrops and rushing past. These insects are the perfect size for these traps, and the plant reacts, but these speedy little critters are just too fast, unlike this fly that was eaten. But at the moment, this bug just happily sits on the edge of a trap, unaware of any danger. I love these little fellas. They're full of character and full of personality. As far as insects go, they're some of my favourite that wander into the den. And they keep triggering traps, but manage to just pull themselves free. It gives me chance for some lovely macro shots, where you can see the sensory hairs and that piercing snout at their front that can drink sap from plants. As this beetle continues to explore, I think back and they're quite similar size to a recent beetle that was caught, showing these traps can quickly snap shut and the fate can change very quickly. Every time this beetle wanders onto an open trap, I think it must be time for it to be caught. But it keeps escaping. These are fast little critters. They have fantastic vision and can often flee when they spot people or other insects or birds, which can often feed on them if they're not quick enough. But this one seems unfazed by the cameras, unfazed by the filming lights, and unfazed by the waiting fly traps. And it continues onwards, past the trap that's already caught a victim before in the past, straight onto the teeth of one of the largest traps, moving around the plant, continuing to explore. You'll notice that these insects do have wings, and they often take flight, and this is how they end up in my carnivorous plant room. Often flying in, landing on sundews, or landing on my fly traps, or landing just about anywhere. And once again, another one speeds past one of my seed-grown plants as I'm filming. And this quick shot gives you an idea of the scale. This plant's tiny! But as the other insects wander around the other plants, this one manages to find its way into a trap, foot next to a trigger hair, and you can just see the trap starting to react. Very slowly, as its other friend just watches on by, completely relaxed, as though nothing's happening. But then the trap snaps shut, grasping him, half caught. These false captures can be devastating for the insect and the plant. Sometimes insects can pull themselves free, but these are not very powerful. They rely on speed and their strong vision, unlike the beetle we saw earlier in the video, which was strong enough to claw its way free from a trap to safety. But this bug is well and truly caught. The trap is slowly closing in, sealing around its prize. Meanwhile in the den, elsewhere, another one is wandering around the pitcher plant flowers. They take flight and just land anywhere, and this one's completely unaware of his friend sitting in the trap. And the other one seems to be, once again, on the little baby sundew. Again, unaware. With this bug the way it's caught, I decide to save the trap and save the insect. I like these bugs. So I decide to free it, so I very gently prise the trap open. This is something I've done many times on the channel. When there's a false capture like this, I carefully prise the trap open, being very careful of the trap and very careful of the insect, just to allow it to escape between the teeth to safety, saving the trap from rotting off and saving the insect from being wasted and not used by the plant. In this case, there's no damage to the insect at all. There's very little damage to the trap, so this trap should reopen and this insect should be able to go free, and I'll later release it into the garden back to where it originally came from, outside the den. And as you can see, the insect's completely unharmed and pretty unfazed as well, and his friends continue to wander around the baby Flytraps and wander around the baby sundews. Again, completely unfazed, but all will need removing from my carnivorous plant room. So I carefully take them outside and return to one of the flowers where I often see them, where they can feed on the nectar and the pollen, and generally live a life in the comfort of the wildflower meadows.
Mr. Naked Landscaper.